One of your hosts, RP.
And I'm your other host, Big Sean. Hope everyone's doing well this evening after a Browns victory.
What's going on, brother?
Nothing much, man. Same old, staying out the way. Trying not to get too stressed out and have a coronary watching these fools. Other than that, I'm good.
Don't make it easy.
No, they sure don't. They sure don't. They wouldn't be the Cleveland Browns if they made things easy.
If we could just watch the game for 2.5, 3 hours, and it's from start to finish, it's clear that we're gonna walk away with a win. That rarely happens here.
That rarely happens. We haven't had one of those, and I'm sure we had a couple last season at some point. I can't remember which ones, but we had a couple this season. We had the Bears.
The Bengals game was like that, wasn't it?
What's that now?
The Bengals game was like that.
Yeah, the Bengals game when we beat the Bears. You can kind of say the Texans game, after the first quarter. So yeah, we've had some, but like I said, it's few and far between. But that's the NFL really, period, though, man. Most NFL games are, really between 4 to 7 point differences in the final score. So
and then you see somebody go up, and then like the Thursday night game where you see Minnesota basically just take off on the Steelers, and then you find out the Steelers only lost by 6 points.
Right. Man, just like the Buffalo Tampa game that just went off. I mean, Tampa was up 27-3 or something like that, 27-6, and the next thing y'all know, the Bengals 49er game goes off and they flip to the Bills Bucks game in the overtime, right? And I'm like, whoa, what happened?
Yeah, that game literally just went off because I said the same thing when I started, came and sat down because I made dinner for the kids or whatever. Came and sat down and actually started, kind of watching TV. I'm like, this game's still on. I was expecting to turn it on and see the pregame for Sunday night. I didn't expect to see doggone afternoon game still on at 8:00.
Exactly.
But, so, our game, our guys, the Browns, first game in 2 weeks. We were just discussing how last week we had to bye, and how it was a little bit of a stress-free Sunday last week. And our hope, if you go back to our last show, which would have been our Sunday post-game show after the Browns-Ravens game, we actually talked about what we might see from the Browns coming into this game against the Ravens again, but at home this time and after the bye. Would we see a difference in their energy? Would we see a difference in maybe the play calling or the schemes? I wasn't 100% sure, and I wasn't even 100% sure today. When you text me today, giving me what you thought was going to be the final score, what did I say? I said, I still ain't sure.
Right. You said you had no idea what to expect.
I just don't know what to expect. I would love, as a fan, I wanted to say, oh yeah, I'm sure after 2 weeks they figured something out. But from what I've been seeing, I haven't, been super impressed. So I guess having said all of that, did you feel like the 2 weeks off? I know you didn't see the very, very beginning, but did you feel like there was a difference after the 2 weeks? Did you see something different? Did you see something good, bad?
Not necessarily, and I don't think that's necessarily a negative thing. The positives I saw, the defense was still bringing the same energy they did the last game. As the last game we played Baltimore, they were being physical, flying all over the field and kind of keeping Lamar Jackson in check. Offensively, the passing game in the first half looked a little bit more. We were able to move the ball some, jumped up on them real early. The thing that didn't change was that the play calling is still suspect offensively. Like you've been saying, it's almost like he's trying to figure stuff out as he goes. Like he's not confident, in what he's calling. And it's kind of showing. And I think sometimes the offense offense doesn't have any confidence in Stefanski's play calling or even use of personnel, for that matter. Because at first I thought, okay, we got 2 tight ends out. Maybe that's a blessing in disguise, or maybe we'll, get out of that 3 tight end set some. But no, I saw 2 guys I've never heard of before in my life. Saw them in that lineup quite a bit. So I said, Stefanski was the most stubborn coach on earth. Like, he's gonna run his system, no matter what.
It's gonna be the system. The system for him is the system, and I guess, and I didn't mean to cut you off, but
no, you're fine, man. Go ahead.
I think for me, I fall into kind of the same category. I don't know that I felt good or bad about now I'll tell you what, the first 3 plays when we came out, the first 3 plays, we went 3 and out. That for me, I was like, are you freaking kidding me? You had 2 weeks and you go 3 and out, and they were all passes. All 3 of them were passes.
Oh, wow.
So the first play was a short play, like a 3-yard pass, maybe, to Hooper, and he dropped it. So A, the drop on the very first pass, and then B, a 3-yard pass on the very first, and it was a play action. So it's like, okay, so you're still not running? Okay, then he go to second down, he throws it again. Still no run. Now it's 3rd and longer, not super long, but 3rd and longer. And they just do like a little dump pass, and we 3 and out. I say, here's my thing, and I know a lot of the plays are connected. So if this first down play works and you get 4 or 5 yards, the second down play is kind of complementary to that play.
Right.
You know what I mean? Especially the scripted plays. That's why it's scripted. You think that these are the plays that should work. We should get X off of that. Once we go into this next play, that'll make this play easier. That'll make that play work. And I didn't see any connectivity in between those 3. And we're talking about, that's a super small sample size, I know. But I'm kind of hypercritical, especially when you get a week or 2 to game plan. Yeah, 2 weeks. I felt like you should understand a couple things. It's going to be tough to run on these guys, but we got to run on these guys. So just run the ball. They were 8 men in the box when they started out. They ran 8 men in the box most of the first half. They only kind of came out of that in the second half. And they still were in the box. They were just moving around a little bit better. But what I saw after that drive was much better. I saw some of the things that I have been trying to figure out why we weren't doing anyway, especially when you have that many guys in the box. Not just spreading people out, but you saw guys going in motion, like moving a player out of the box. I saw people going out into the flat, taking a linebacker with them. So it did at least look like they tried to address some stuff. And again, the first half, I don't think I was upset with the play calling.
Right.
There was some stuff here and there. I still felt like we should have ran a little bit more, but I can't say that I was upset. And a lot of that was the defense. The defense's fault. The defense played really, really well in the first half. They were, like you said, they were super aggressive. They were active. They made, for one of the first times in a while, this is like 2 games in a row where we've made contact tackles. And if you guys don't know what that means, I mean, first contact tackle, bam, this guy's down. We're not like, these guys ain't breaking tackles and getting to the second guy. We're actually this guy, putting him on the ground with the first contact. So this is 2 games in a row where that's happened. Denzel had 2 huge tackles today. JOK was JOK. He was all over the place. Miles was all over the place. He got 1 holding call today. There was at least 10.
Exactly. You know what? He's getting a Shaquille O'Neal treatment, basically.
He is.
That's how he's being officiated.
Yeah.
Because the refs are like, look, man, we can't call holding on every pass play.
Because you got to either quit getting back here so fast, or B,
Right.
you got to fall down. I mean, my man fell all the way. It took this dude falling all the way on Villanueva to fall all the way on top of him for them to call the hold.
but here's
the under the neck stuff they ain't call it.
Right. Now here's my biggest gripe of the whole game. Outside of the play calling. The play calling, I give him like a C. Wasn't horrible, wasn't great. I understand that football 101 says if they put 9 in the box, you're supposed to throw the football to back them out of it. I understand that, but still, you have to, do what you do best at some point, or do some type of variation of it. They weren't creative. Screen passes and stuff seemed like we stopped doing that. We did a couple today, but not enough, not like we were doing.
And I agree with that. I agree with that point.
Yeah, but my biggest gripe is his overall game management. So in the fourth quarter, when Baltimore is starting to really make their run, and they're doing up tempo, we had 3 timeouts, on the board late in that game. When you see the defense is in disarray and out of position,
use one.
Call the timeout. You can't take those home with you. Most likely, the way the game was going at that point in time, you probably weren't going to need, for a final drive. We had a nice lead, but you don't want to give up that lead.
Right.
Use a timeout and kind of get your guys back in order, because we were I was like, what are you doing? It's almost like he was confused over there.
And I think at times he is, but here's the thing. I agree with what you're saying and where you're going, because when you have that kind of league, because I think at that point when they started kind of making their bit of a run, it's 24-9.
Yeah, they were nibbling. They were nibbling like the whole game. They were field goal here, field goal there.
Yeah.
Kind of nibbling away at the lead.
But you could feel like, especially in the second half, you could kind of feel that there was a momentum shift. Like we didn't do much on offense. And to me, the second half play calling was terrible. And more of it had to do with them they went mega conservative, like super safe. Like we don't want to do nothing that's gonna ruin this thing. And this, we got this old adage, especially here in Cleveland. You don't want to do it. We hate to prevent defense, but man, I hate to prevent offense too, because it just leads to you losing. What game have you ever, have been a competitor? I've been a competitor. What game do you prepare for that you say, you go into the game and you say, when I start winning, I got to play safe. You don't ever say that. You go into the game saying, I want to win. And actually your thought is, I want to dominate. So how do you feel like I want to dominate, and then you take your foot off the gas? And we took our foot completely off the gas.
And you know what? They cut. You know what? We were moving the ball in the second half, but stuff kept happening for whatever reason that was stalling. How many field goals we missed in the second half? Like 2? Was it 1 or 2?
We missed 1.
Those were points that came off the board. We had one where it's that weird sequence where the referees made Baker leave the game.
They called it from upstairs.
Yeah, they called it from upstairs, and we had got the first down. There's a phantom holding call, and then something else happened. Yeah, it wasn't a hold, and that kind of blew that drive. But we had driven down in their territory. They were moving, but we were being conservative. But it was just weird. It was like weird things that kept happening that kept stalling the drives in the second half.
It felt like they were like the play calls were, because especially after Baker almost had the second pick. It seemed it seemed like they kind of pulled back from really. Now, first of all, neither one of those picks should have been picks, because both of those picks came at points where, to me, and I know you got to keep passing. You got to pass. You can't just do one thing. I mean, you don't got to keep passing, but I understand everybody is not going to be Bill Belichick, who just decides, nope, we ain't passing at all. No, we gonna
right.
Like he's a maniac, and there ain't nothing wrong with that, because they won, and he knows how to win. And sometimes you have to lean on what you're gonna do or what you're gonna do well, and maybe what you don't do well. Maybe today is the day we just gonna do this. So I'm cool with that train of thought. But Bill Belichick is one of one. Kevin Stefanski ain't even close to that in terms of organization or play call. You know, at least Bill allows his guys to call the plays. That allows Bill to be that maniacal. I'm sure when he walked into that damn office that day, he said, "Hey, all those pass plays, take them out. We're not doing none of them.
We're not doing none of them
all
at
that
all.
There, I'm not allowing this dude to lose this game for us. I'm not going. It's not happening. Take those damn play calls, those pass calls out. Stefanski ain't gonna do that. So I get that they're gonna still try to throw passes with Baker. Baker didn't look terrible. He looked good early on, but ultimately he just was basic again. And I wouldn't even say that in a negative way, to be honest. He did enough for us to win, but I wasn't blown away by anything he did. It was he just did what he normally does. So it's not even like you felt like, yo, this dude is cooking right now. Let's keep the ball in his hand. He was spot on early on, and then in the second half he was I think something like 6 for 13 or 6 for 14 for 40 something yards. Like that's not what we saw in the first half. That's not what happened in the first half. So if you're gonna keep throwing the same type of stuff that you were throwing earlier. Keep running the same types of plays that you were running earlier. It was good to see Nick run the ball more. I was appreciative of that. And I think it did keep them guys off because Nick, even though he didn't like blow these guys out or blow those guys up, he probably had 60 of the toughest yards he ever had in his career.
Yeah, in his life, yeah. And back to where you were saying that Kevin Stefanski is playing it safe. He even plays it safe with his players, man. Kareem Hunt got dinged up early, and then you didn't see him the rest of the game. You see him on the sidelines kind of itching to get back
and
in the
he had
game.
his helmet on. He had his helmet on the
entire time. His helmet on, and he didn't put him back in. It was like, and I understand that you don't want him to get hurt, but if he's able to go, let him go.
Listen.
You know what I'm saying? Or if he's not able to go, take his helmet off and have him in the locker room getting treatment.
Yeah.
Or whatever, getting ready for the next game.
Because we don't have room for, nobody else, especially going into these
it's no time to be playing safe. And it's funny, man, because as much as we dog Joe Woods most of the season, he's the one that's being the aggressor.
Let me tell you something.
And Stefanski is the one that's playing soft. And we were dogging Joe Woods for playing soft.
I actually said that. I did. I said this in one of my Facebook. I think in the second half, dude was feeling like we went soft in the second half, and we did. I think both sides of the ball. We didn't go into. We weren't being as aggressive early in the second half, defensively, and I saw, they just kind of inched their way into the game until they were just in the game. A couple of those, like that catch Oakway had down the sideline in front of Greedy, that was just a great adjustment. It was good. It was decent coverage. It was just a great adjustment. I don't think it was a great pass. It was a great adjustment. And dude, what you gonna do? Because had he not made that move, he wasn't gonna make that catch. But the defense wasn't still sending pressure. They weren't still coming after these guys like they were early on. And then they kind of kicked it back up. Once they kicked it back up,
I think a lot of that was them not being able to sub either once they went up tempo, which is why I was like, when they start getting frazzled and kind of in disarray, call a timeout, settle down, and you can get your players, get a breather. So I think we still ended that game with 2 timeouts on the board, maybe all 3, but at least 2.
There was also a period where there was a nice stretch where Miles wasn't on the field in the second half. they just had like Tack out there and what's my other guy on the other side? Because him or Clowney were in. And I was thinking to myself, why the hell aren't either one of these dudes on the field? Like, to me, they need to be on the field. One of them need to be on the field at all times.
All time, exactly. Now,
I couldn't
Tack
figure out why.
McKinley did have another good game again.
Tack had a great game, actually.
And the Malik's had a matter of fact, go ahead and I need y'all to offer Tack McKinley a multi-year deal. Go ahead and keep him in the fold. I'll even bring Clowney. I don't know if Clowney wants to come back.
I don't know if he does either.
I'll even go, because really, and this might sound like an overstatement. When we look back on things, see how things played out, how things play out later on in the season, Jadeveon Clowney may have saved the season.
He might have.
That sack in the fourth quarter to make it 3rd and 20 was a huge play.
Came up in
because because when Baltimore got that onside kick, I had just impending doom.
Listen, man,
course through the veins of my body. I said, "You got." I was like,
I wanted to say that discussion about that onside kick for its own little segment. Because
we can do it now.
Let me tell you something. So this was at a point in the game where who on the freaking planet Earth didn't know what was coming after that touchdown? We getting inside of the game being over with here shortly.
Right.
So they need the ball back. They're losing. What do you think is coming up on this kickoff? I don't know that you have to be a football savant to know what is getting ready to come. If you watch, the casual fan should have been able to look at the situation and say to themselves, hey, man, they're getting ready to try an onside kick. Now, I know that these kickers nowadays, man, they do all kind of backflip kicks and little
right.
squid. Like, it used to be just kicked it off the tee onto the ground and let it roll. Now these guys are kicking behind, so they're doing crazy little stuff.
Right.
But we all know what's getting ready to happen. You mean to tell me Janovich had no idea that this dude was about to kick short? He just he just ran. Are you kidding me, man?
He wasn't even looking for the ball.
Dude, at all, you going to block somebody. You need, nothing's wrong with you wanting to do your primary job. But, situations change what your primary job might be.
If you were looking for the ball, then you just could have secured it.
You could have just fell on the ball.
Janovich was tripping. He was tripping all game because when they were doing the kickoff shorts, the short kickoffs, he was catching them and trying to run. I'm like, dude, if you don't
just fall
big
down,
ass just take a knee, I'm like, what
just
are you doing?
Down, just catch that mug and fall down. Like,
exactly.
But listen, tell me how you was aware and ready for that, but you wasn't ready for that.
Man, when they got that onside kick, in my mind, I was like, that's game. I was like, game over. I let the Browns start doing what the Browns do. I'm about to be sick. I said, I'm going to be in a bad mood for the rest of the day. It's not, I was like, I was just like, I can't believe it.
Yeah, I
can't believe this is happening.
I was dumbfounded. Like, I was so dumbfounded. I said, I can't touch my phone because I'm about to put like the most angry post on Facebook.
Right.
Touch my phone. I just left the phone because I couldn't believe it. I was sitting there like, how does this, how does this continue? How do we continue to find ways,
new and creative
ways to blow games or to put ourselves in tough situations?
And on top of that, how lucky do the Ravens have to get? They the luckiest team in the NFL. They are like, you know what? They win a lot of their games on broken plays. Play breaks down, and they throw up some bull crap or Lamar run, and Hunt ain't nothing but Lamar Jackson Jr. He's a clone of Lamar.
Man, that dude was after especially after halftime. Like he came out, it was I don't know if coming in early gave him, kind of like the butterflies or whatever, because he didn't look great at first, but coming out in the second half, like he was totally comfortable. They were running some of the same stuff. A couple of his balls, honestly.
Yeah, but I knew that was going to happen, though. I knew he was going to get comfortable because, for one, other coaches make adjustments better than we do.
And you can't listen. Here's my thing. What happened to the coaching thought process that says, "Yo, we got the second string quarterback in, and he's a younger guy. Man, we about to just send heat, see how he deals with it." Like,
and they did it in spurts.
They did it, but this is what I'm saying. To hell with a spurt. Put the game on this second string quarterback. Like, again, that goes right into what you just said. Other teams make adjustments better than we do. Like, we didn't say to ourselves, "Oh, Lamar out." No, we about to go ahead and put heat on these guys. We about to take them out of here because that guy ain't finna win this game.
Right.
They didn't say that. They said, "Well, we've already dialed up and he's pretty similar. So let's just stay in our pocket." That's okay, but that ain't okay all the time. Like, you have to be willing to make the full-fledged adjustments. And I don't know that we've done that, but I will say this, completely and totally honest, without Joe Woods and how he called this game today, and it's saying something. This is saying a lot. This is a guy whose job I've called for. I don't subscribe to that same ethos that you don't tell somebody or you don't call for somebody to get fired. Now, as a manager, I don't want to fire nobody. But as a fan, I want everybody to get fired every week. So, in most cases.
Exactly.
As a commentator, as a podcast host, I'm kind of on the fence, but I won't call for a guy's job unless I feel like that job needs to be changed or replaced. And trust me, Joe Woods has been awful the majority of the year. I will have to be the most honest person on the planet and eat some of those words from earlier, because we would not have won this game.
Yeah, but we pride ourselves on being fair. We give criticism when it's due, and we give praise when it's due. Now, you had mentioned earlier about your feelings coming into this game and you didn't know what to expect. A couple of things that had got my antennas raised this week, and I had to change my perspective on a couple of things. Myles Garrett had came out and said on Wednesday that they weren't practicing hard enough. And, they didn't show the intensity. And at first I was like, these fools really don't get it. They really don't care about winning. They didn't checked out on the coach. They're kind of just going through the motions or whatnot. But then I kind of thought about it. Myles is a smart guy. Myles is not going to get up there and give away. You basically telling the Ravens, "Hey, we practicing soft. We not ready. Blah 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 blah." Kind of giving them like a psychological advantage. I think what Myles was doing was basically trying to piss his teammates off. Not that they weren't practicing hard or anything like that. He was like, we need some more, these guys need to have an understanding of what this game means. So I'm just gonna say something flips. I've never heard a player come out and say that. And I'm sure it's been done at some point in time, but I've never heard it personally where a player just calls his guys out midweek and it's like, we ain't playing hard enough. So, but then I was like, oh, no, what? He's not. They're okay. He's just trying to stoke that flame and stoke that fire. He's being a leader in his own way. Mm-hmm. Then he said, they asked him about Defensive Player of the Year. And he was like, I don't care about that right now. He was like, that don't mean nothing if we don't make the playoffs. Like, I'm trying to win Super Bowls. That's the first time I've heard a Browns player say that. Most of them play it safe. We try and take one game at a time. We want to win a division, handle that, then make the playoffs and go from there. That's the first time I've heard a Browns player say, hey,
basically,
I'm trying to win. He was like, I forget about the individual accolades. I'm trying to win a Super Bowl. So I was like, okay, they're kind of refocusing on these last 5 games of the season, maybe they're going to try, starting to get their act together a little bit. So I kind of started feeling more positive going into the week, based on that. What did you think about his comments?
Well, I appreciated him, first of all. It's kind of refreshing to me to have a player that you consider a leader, or that we all know the talent that the dude has. Usually we have a uber talented guy who ain't saying nothing. They kind of aloof, or kind of like you want them to do more, say more, you want them to lead more, and they don't. This guy, in his first couple years in the league, here anyway, I don't know that he was as vocal, but he's definitely been way more vocal this year. This ain't the first time he said something quote unquote controversial. I don't think nothing, when you that good, like and I'm just gonna do it from a football standpoint. I ain't gonna go to basketball and other superstars. When you're Michael Strahan, and Michael Strahan says they ain't practicing hard enough, guess what? What you gonna say to Mike Strahan? Nothing.
Exactly.
He is the leader on that squad. When Michael Irvin say whatever he gonna say, that's Michael Irvin. So this is your guy. The best player on the Cleveland Browns football team is Myles Garrett. He's the best player. He's number one. There ain't a better player on that team than Myles Garrett. So when Myles Garrett says something opposite of what the coach says, because the coach came out and said, oh yeah, guys are flying all over the field and they were doing this, doing that.
Right.
And that's what they asked him that. He said, well, they ain't doing good enough compared to what I've seen. They ain't doing good enough. And I do think he was trying to piss everybody off. Not just the players. I think he was trying to piss the coach off too. Because consider this, they've already had a sit-down meeting. They've already talked, him and Stefanski, like a private meeting after he said whatever he said a couple weeks ago. Where he was like, whoa, it seems like, he might be stepping outside of bounds, blah, blah, blah. But when you the guy, listen, man, I'm the guy. And I need to be able to motivate my team. Because he was right when he said, remember earlier in the season when he was like, hey, listen, if I'm occupying 2 and 3 guys, you telling me one of these dudes can't make a play?
Right.
People were like, oh, he's calling out his teammates, spoken like fans that ain't used to winning. Sometimes you got to call your teammates out. I tell you what, say whatever you want to say. Now I'm getting ready to make a basketball analogy. Say whatever you want to say. There's a reason Kobe had 5 titles. There's a reason Mike had 6. Sometimes you got to call these cats out. Sometimes you got to call Shaq fat. Sometimes you got to punch Steve Kerr. You have to do what you got to do as the leader. And this guy is the leader, the best player on the team. I'm never going, unless he's going like completely overboard, like outlandishly going overboard. But I don't think that what he said or did was outlandishly overboard.
No, it really wasn't. But and the funny thing is, here's what's crazy about people in the media and the fans. We always say we're tired of the same cookie cutter responses in these press conferences. It's so dry, it's boring, never give us anything, blah, 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 blah. And then when they finally give you something, oh, he's being a bad teammate. He's calling out his players and all that. I'm like, y'all can't have it both. He gave you something juicy to talk about. That's what y'all been wanting.
You can't have it.
He's being honest.
And I would prefer honesty. Honestly, I would prefer a dude say, like, I would prefer somebody say, man, listen, man, I'm so sick of, and boom, 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 boom. I'm just sick of it. I'm tired of losing. One of my favorite quotes ever is Josh Cribbs when he said, man, somebody was like, well, we almost won. We kind of came close. And he turned around, looked at that dude, and was like, man, we always almost win.
Right.
Like, that's a real statement. That's a frustrated, agitated but real statement.
I can't imagine what those guys went through. The
You
guys
see
that
it,
was
yeah.
here
Them
with
guys
him,
who
like
was here when they were kind of fringe good anyway. Like 8-8 season for us would have been awesome during those times.
yeah.
But when you're 5-10 5-11 every year, 4-12 every year, 6-10, you know what I mean? You always right there. You frustrated.
I
You're
wonder
frustrated.
how like Joe Thomas and Josh Cribbs and Phil Dawson really feel like the Browns are like a little bit better now. I wonder how they feel like they have a little bit of envy that they're not
I
able
would say
to
they have. I would say
participate.
that they would have to. I would. Honestly,
Yeah.
like I look at guys, and I know this is kind of off topic, but I look at guys who've played a long time that kind of retired or stepped out or got traded or whatever right before things changed. Like Don Mattingly, dude played in New York all that time, and they never
Yeah.
won a World Series while he was there. And then literally 2 years after he was gone, they won the first of 5 championships over the next 7 or 8 years. You know what I mean? Like, damn, you one of the greats. Same thing with like Mark Grace. You play all those years, and you don't get that. You don't get the opportunity to win. It sucks. It has to suck when you're a great player or at least a great to the franchise type of player.
Right.
Joe Thomas, or a guy that for a season or 2 or a season or 3 was really, really integral to what we were doing, like a Josh Cribbs. It sucks that you belong to that particular franchise or that particular part of that franchise, rather. So I would say that it has to suck at least a little bit. It has to suck a little bit to watch this team be at least remotely better. But I'm before I get too far to the left, I want to bring it back a little bit because I kind of been reading and hearing a few things here and there. So you were just saying about, kind of the controversial comments of Miles. Part of what made those comments controversial was that the coach felt a certain kind of way, and Miles kind of felt a little bit different. So the coach, I think we spoke on this last show. I believe the coach is in over his head. I think he's trying, and I actually think he's a solid coach. He's just doing too much. Why am I saying that? Why am I bringing this up? Well, earlier in the week or last week, what's his name? Kurt Warner came up with this. He broke down some of Baker's plays from the first game, and I watched parts of it. It was BS, and I'm only saying it was BS because you can't pick a drive. You can't pick 2 drives or pick the first half and say, yeah, if you look at that, ain't none of this Baker's fault. None of it. You can't just blame Baker. I understand what you're saying, but it's more to the game than that. And I'm not just trying to blame Baker either. What I'm saying is his whole point in that was trying to prove that everything ain't Baker's fault. Nobody here, anyway, is saying everything is Baker's fault. I know that we are not on this show. Right. We're not saying everything is Baker's fault. We just put at Baker's feet what belongs at Baker's feet. So they end up doing an interview, Baker and Kurt Warner. And in the interview, it kind of comes out that Baker ain't too happy with the way that the plays have been called. He kind of suggested that there's been a lot of stuff that he's been dealing with. It ain't just been the outside noise, it's some of this internal stuff too.
I heard about that. I didn't watch the interview, but I heard them talking about that.
I was like, see, Sean, I always laugh at you for this. I always laugh at you for this because it always seems like an episode of Star Wars or something. You always talk about your factions, like this group over here, that group over there. But the truth of the matter is, probably all in any locker room, good, bad, or indifferent, there's probably always factions. There's probably always these folks, and it just depends on how the team goes as to when that stuff is going to come out.
Right.
Like, how close are we hearing that kind of stuff, especially with 4 games left in the season? How close are we to this whole damn thing falling apart, you think? Like within the locker room, that
is. Winning cures everything. So if they win, they'll be fine. If they blow this game against the Raiders next week, then you'll start probably hearing some more griping, some more grumbling, and it could fall off the rails at that point in time, because the next week is a winnable game, another game you got to win, and you're at home, national television. Yeah, so that's where they are. Like right now, the Browns are in a very fragile place mentally. It's been a rough season. You dealt with injuries. You had to deal with the noise with the Odell Beckham Jr. situation. You got people's family members tweeting and going crazy. You got a coach that's confused all of a sudden, who's big on organization, having the organization. Now he ain't got it together, and they're barely holding on. They basically get hanging on by a ribbon right now. So long as they win, and they win, they'll be fine. I don't know. I mean, here's the thing, and kind of leading into where we were talking about in our pregame meeting, not pregame meeting, but pre-show meeting, about some things that I've been observing the last couple of weeks. All NFL teams kind of go through this at some point in time. Oh yeah. No matter how good you are, it's all about how you come out of it and how you handle it. One thing that kind of stuck out today, because we talk about analytics a lot and how, we think the Browns use it a little bit too much instead of doing with gut instinct. John Harbaugh made one of the dumbest moves that I've seen him do in a long time, where they scored. Yeah, they scored and made the score 24-15. Instead of going for the extra point and making it a 1-possession game, he elects to go for the 2-point conversion. One thing a lot of people don't know is Baltimore is also heavy analytics, probably more so than the Browns. They've been doing this for a while. So you kind of step back and put everything in perspective. We look at our team, that's our team, and we kind of look at them with a microscope and we're the only ones being idiotic, only people having problems, internal strife and stuff like that. It seems that way. The thing that kind of gives me a little bit of hope, especially after watching some of these games, like everybody in the AFC is flawed. Really, every team in the NFL is flawed. There's no juggernaut this year. For whatever reason, it's probably been like the most parity probably in NFL probably in a long time. So and I say that to say this: the Browns can come out of this, as long as they continue to win. All that griping and all the bickering and all of that stuff will start to go away. What Cincinnati lost today, a tough one. Buffalo came back and they lost a tough one. And you think about it, man, after all of this, all the stuff you've been through this season, all the roller coasters, all the ups and downs, all the what's going on. Browns a game out of first place. As a matter of fact, if we win next week, we beat the Raiders next week, and Baltimore loses to the Packers, Browns are in first place, which is weird to say because we don't look like a first place team at all. The Browns, if this was probably like the old NFL, we would probably be something like 5 and what's our record? 7-6. we'd be like 5-8. Because that's what we're playing like overall. We're playing like a very, very mediocre, subpar football team right now. So if these guys got any pride about them, any type of, if your goal is to win a championship, because we got the talent to do it.
Yeah.
Period. It's time just to be a grown-ass man. It's like, okay, we had our issues. Are we gonna come together as a team, or are we gonna fall apart as individuals? That's what it comes down to. So I'm looking at it from a positive standpoint. It's like we can beat the Raiders. Green Bay will be tough, but I said they're not invincible. Then you got Pittsburgh and Cincinnati. So, like I said, the Browns pretty much control their own destiny, man. So
I think we were in the same spot last year, though, right? We had to kind of win out.
Something like that. Yeah.
Going out of last year, like beating Pittsburgh, we had to beat Pittsburgh. And if we beat Pittsburgh, we got in. It wasn't one of those we win and then 4 other teams have to lose in order for us to get in. So I mean, it's very similar. We've been in this spot before, per se, but it's just a matter of guys figuring it out. I think right now, going forward, the way that the defense is playing, I'm encouraged because I'm starting to see, even with the guys that were out today, I was a little bit alarmed with, with Harrison and Walker being out. But we still kind of covered those deficiencies from those guys not being out there. And
yeah, man. Guys definitely said that Delpit stepped up. It was good to see Phillips back in the lineup. I was shocked at that. I didn't see that come. I thought dude was done.
I thought he was done for the season, actually.
Yeah, and he's a big part in the future of this team.
Well, I think
JOK did his thing defensively. They're starting to move. Like the defense is starting to move more like a cohesive unit.
Well, I think honestly, the crazy part, everybody was saying this early on in the season. I remember Myles Garrett saying this. I remember Jadeveon saying this. I remember Joe Woods saying this. Like, it's still early. Guys are still figuring out where they're supposed to be. If you notice, we're not seeing those big gaps in the secondary that we were seeing before. We're not seeing where guys are literally leaving people wide open in the secondary, like we were the first maybe 3 or 4 weeks of the season. So guys they're starting to understand what they're supposed to be doing, where they're supposed to be. We're not even seeing guys getting beat up on the corners like we were last year. Remember last year? I mean, guys was getting torched on the edges. We're not seeing like we were before. So the defenses, you're starting to see everything is starting to come together. And the hope is that they can continue to come together and do it while still getting healthy. Hopefully getting Harrison.
Because really, man, because we're going to have to rely on them. I still don't have any faith in the offense. So we're going to have to really rely on that defense, man, to kind of hold us down for a minute. And hopefully at some point, the offense decides that they want to click.
I got no faith in the offense. We scored 24 points today, but the truth is the offense still only mustered up 17 points.
17, exactly.
Because one of those touchdowns was my man behind me, Myles Garrett, with the rare strip sack recovery and touchdown. So
hat-trick.
It's tough to expect the offense that literally for the last 10 weeks has only 70% of the time hasn't scored more than 17 points.
Right.
So it's tough
one thing too, man, I think this thing basically, and this is kind of scary what I'm about to say, a lot of this is going to come down to coaching.
Yeah, listen.
But you know what though? I was like, oh man, do you score? All right, sorry about that, ladies and gentlemen.
I think he stepped up.
Yeah, he might have stepped up, but they gave him a touchdown. But like I said, reflect on these last 2 weeks. Like, with them assholes having a bye week last week, I ain't have to worry about them. I start kind of just looking at the bigger picture. Our coach has been coaching. Good night.
Night.
Our coach has been, coaching pretty mediocre. But so is the rest of the NFL. And I ain't saying that giving Stefanski an excuse. I'm just saying that gives me more hope that we can get in the playoffs and maybe do some damage. But there's a lot of idiots out there. Look at Buffalo for example. And I've been saying this since last year. They've been praising, Josh Allen and Buffalo and blah, 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 blah. Them dudes refuse to run the football. I don't know how
they just
you can be a team that plays in the mouth of Lake Erie. And they have some good running backs. Singletary is actually a good back. And what's the other guy? Zach Moss is a decent back. And they refuse. They don't even try to run the football. And I'm like, in that division, in that weather, in that city, if you can't run the football, you're not going to be successful.
You got to run.
Look at San Diego, Los Angeles, the Chargers. They've had some bad losses. They look good one week, inconsistent the next. Like, everybody's been kind of like flip-flopping and being inconsistent. So basically it's going to come down to, it's going to come down to coaching, who's healthy going down the stretch, and who can start playing consistent football. That's what it's going to come down to. But it's just weird. Like, the fact that Pittsburgh is even in the hunt don't make no sense because they're awful.
But see, here's the scary part.
But they got good coaching.
I was just getting ready to say, you know why? Because they got good coaching. We don't have good coaching. And part of my issue with Kevin Stefanski is I think we have good coaching. He just refuses to just coach.
Right.
He comes to coach and, call plays and talk to AVP every 2 seconds. Listen, man, I need you to focus because I do think organization. Listen, I'm not a sloppy dude, but I'm not the organizational guy. Like, I'm not the Palm Pilot email.
Yeah, right.
All that ain't me. That's not me. But there are people who are or who do have those things. And I think that Kevin Stefanski is a detailed guy. Right now, like I told you before, I think he's I remember Andy Baskin saying this on the radio. He was the coach of the year last year, so somehow he doesn't know how to coach. That's one of the most vanilla, nonsensical statements on the planet. Just because you won a title or whatever last year, not a title, but you won an award the year before, it doesn't mean that you're doing what you did the year before. He's not. Is he doing what he did the year before? No, he's not. You know why he won the coach of the year? It wasn't because he was the best coach in the world. It's because this fool figured out a way to get the Browns to 11 wins. That's it. Like, let's be honest. That's it.
Right.
Same thing happened with Buffalo a couple years ago. He won the same damn award. Why? Because Buffalo all of a sudden won 11 games. So I'm not saying that the dude ain't a good coach, because I think you still got to know what you're doing to pull it off. We've had 52,000 coaches in here since 1999, and none of those dudes were able really to figure it out. Sans a couple of them, and they couldn't figure it out multiple years in a row. So now we actually have a coach that has us semi-figured out in how we're going to move forward. If you would just relent and give AVP, a guy you hired, the play calling, let him call the plays and you still get some input, but the game planning is him. I'm focused on keeping these 12 dum-dums off the field. I'm focused on making sure everybody understands this is a onside kick. Get your ass out the way. I need to focus on how many timeouts do we have. My guys look gassed. My guys look like they spent. I need to use one of these timeouts. What is it? 7, 8 minutes? Yeah, we could spend one of these timeouts. That's fine.
Right.
I need you to be aware of that stuff because I do understand that at some point, whether it's in a game to figure out if we're going to go to the playoffs, if it's a game where we're going to figure out if we're going to win the division, if it's a game in a divisional round, in a wild card game, or in the AFC Championship, or ultimately in a Super Bowl, I need a coach that's aware of what's going on at all times. I can't have you all over the place. I can't have you missing something because you was looking at something else. And I think we're missing that because this dude won't just give up the freaking play calls.
Yeah, and the fact too, man, like that really, when you think about it, the fact that your leaders on your team are really calling you out publicly says a lot, because that usually doesn't happen. Even we've seen some bad coaches. We've seen Shermer and all these other jokers that came through here, and I really don't remember players really openly calling them out, and they're calling out.
They wouldn't say nothing. They wouldn't say nothing.
Yeah, they wouldn't say nothing at all. But they're calling out Stefanski. Now it could be, people would say, okay, they're losing faith in him. But you want to look at it from different perspectives. I know people might think this might sound a little weird, but it could be that the reason why they're doing it, because it's like, hey, we know the potential that you have as a coach and that we have as a team.
Mm-hmm.
We know what you can do, but you ain't listening to us when we're trying to talk, or we trying to say, maybe we got to do this to get your attention, because we know what we can do.
Yeah, that's
what
I'm saying.
We got the talent.
Look, that's what I've been saying. I know I was kind of killing them last year, but it was agitating me so much because I could see this kind of stuff. Right. Or I thought I was seeing this kind of stuff. And it turned out that the stuff that I thought I saw was kind of real. Like, I'm like, no, this you gotta do this stuff because we're gonna end up in this same dumb spot. I don't want to get to the ceiling and not be able to bust through the ceiling. And I think this guy has the ability for us to bust through the ceiling with him or because of him. But I need him, as you would say, I think last week's show and this week's show, you called this dude stubborn at least 42 times. I think that couldn't be more accurate, though. I need this guy to not be so stubborn and not be so caught up in what he thinks he's good at. Because I'm good at a lot of stuff. I really am. I'm good at a lot of stuff. But then there's things that I'm really not good at or not as good at. Like, I would be better if I had an assistant, or I would be better if I had somebody that says to me, last time you said blah, 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 you don't need to say, don't say that again. You know what I mean? Like, you need,
right.
Why the president has assistants. Why do you think the president has assistants? People to keep them on par. Most presidents don't write their own speeches. They got a speech writer.
Right.
You're the damn head coach. You need to be the head coach. It's not many people who are head coaches and offensive coordinators and or defensive coordinators who still are as successful and win Super Bowls. We talking about
look at Bruce Arians. Bruce Arians is an offensive guy and a former play caller.
And he had to give it up.
He handed off to Leftwich. As a matter of fact, he got two coordinators out there between Leftwich and Brady.
And Brady. If you recall, when he was in Arizona, he didn't want nobody else calling his plays. It was just him. And it didn't work out as well. It didn't work out as well. He lucked up because he has some really good teams. But sometimes, man, you need that other eye. You need that other person, especially the person that you trust, And my guess is you hired AVP. My guess is you hired Bill Callahan. So you trust them. A guy that you trust to tap you on your shoulder and say, yo, you know what we really need to do? We need to do this, or this is a good spot for this player or that play. It can't be, or I shouldn't say it can't be, but it shouldn't be a situation where you're fighting allowing these guys to do the job you hired them to do. Like that to me is ridiculous. But my fight against that is generally about making the attempt of saying, hey, Kevin Stefanski, usually I'm calling for a coach's job. I'm not even calling for your job. I haven't all year long. I was mad at you last year. I was angry at you last year. This year, I was like, okay, I got to articulate that better. I don't want to just be the angry guy. I want people to understand what I think I see, what I think should be happening. So, bro, I don't want you to get fired. However, I want the head coach to fire the offensive coordinator, which is or the offensive coordinator. That's what I want. I want the head coach to fire the offensive play caller, not the offensive coordinator, the offensive play caller. So let Alex Van Pelt, the offensive coordinator, call the freaking plays, please, and thank you. I think we'd be better off if you had eyes in other places so that you can focus on making your team better so that you don't lose your players, so that the team actually believes in you. Because Baker Mayfield, people will say Baker had a great game. Baker ain't had no great game. He had a basic game. His number, you look at his numbers, basic, the same numbers he always has. 2 touchdowns, 1 pick, under 200 yards, 20 completions. That's basic. There's nothing overwhelming about those numbers. So it's not like you calling these grand plays, bro. Our offense is like 20th in the NFL. You think you're doing a good job? You think that's gonna be a Super Bowl? It's not. I want to win. I know I look like I might be younger, minus this white hair on my damn face, but I'm not that young, and we not that healthy, and we drink too much because we in the 17-week period.
Right.
You don't understand.
Exactly.
Come on, man. I need to see my team win and compete at Super Bowls and in playoffs year after year. Yeah, it's a lot of stress coming to Cleveland. People think you come to Cleveland and this is my argument against Baker. Baker, oh, well, I don't see a whole lot of winning. I don't give a shit about what you're talking about, dude. You ain't won shit. Let's be honest. You ain't won shit. We went to the playoffs. Okay, good. What'd you do after that? Oh, you lost? Okay. We used to that. Do something we ain't done.
Exactly.
Do something we ain't done. Get us there. Don't just be silent. And that's what makes me mad. People think I'm mad about Baker. I'm mad because Baker's satisfied with the little bit of winning we've done. Nah, get better and do more. Because I'm sick of this little bit of winning. I'm sick of the 2 or 3 and 4 game wins per season. I'm sick of it. And I know my partner is sick of it. We tired of that stuff. We've seen it. We've had it happen. And we know that nothing comes of it but more misery going into the next season, especially when you don't even draft the right people after that. Maybe 2. So we need to get beyond it. And especially now we're screwed because now we're at least good enough to be mediocre, which means that by being mediocre, we don't even get the first top 10 pick.
Exactly.
We pick it on at 20 now, somewhere from 16 to 22, which means you got to be front office. You got to be more locked into what is going on. We don't want to see that kind of stuff. I think these guys are locked in front office wise. Like the previous regimes would have skipped over a player like JOK.
Mm-hmm.
So to get this guy in the draft lets me know that they want to try to win. This dude can stay healthy and we can keep going out here getting other pieces to just shore up what we already have. We got a team, and I just need a coach. As my partner just pointed out, that's poignant as hell, because ultimately it does fall into the coach's lap, because we got the talent. The talent is out there. The talent out there.
Yeah, I'm telling you that what it's gonna like this year more than ever. These playoffs, sometimes you can have a bad coach and the talent kind of just supersedes how the coach, how bad the coach is coaching. Not this year. For one thing, your boy Bill is on a mission. After Tom Brady won that Super Bowl last year without him, Bill Belichick is coaching his ass off, and he's determined to show that he can win without Brady. They're like in competition with each other. But now more than ever, down the stretch in the playoffs, coaching decisions, clock management, game management, and health are going to be the major factor points on how well you do, either getting into the playoffs and how well you do in them once you get there. Like I said, it's a lot. When you watching these games, it's a lot of bad coaching, a lot of questionable decisions going on, and really listening to Phil Simms and Cowher and Esiason today. They were kind of dogging analytics. They were saying that. They were like saying a lot of these teams are making decisions based on analytics. They was like, what happens to using your gut instinct?
I thought Bill Cowher was gonna have an aneurysm, dog.
Yeah, I thought he was gonna jump over the table and punch Boomer Esiason. And Boomer was really agreeing with each other. But Bill
Cowher, look, this might have been the first time since he's not been on the sideline that I saw the chin come out, like the full, like I'm angry, and he wasn't frothing at the mouth like we've seen him do, but he was not happy. He said he flat out, he dogged out Harbaugh. He was like, that ain't even a football decision. What happened to doing regular football stuff? You put your team in the best position to win. And putting your team in the best position to win, you kick that extra point. Now you're only down 8 points. You can go for it if you get another touchdown. Like, you're not closer because you did that. You still need 8 points, or you still need a touchdown. It doesn't matter if you get to 8 now or 8 later. You're still going to need 8, correct?
So what happened to the 2-point conversion placard they used to have? You remember, and it's like, in this situation you go for 2, in this situation you go for 8 points. I guess they threw that out the window.
I think they threw it out to try to make it seem, because first of all, if you got to have, I knew there were some coaches, especially some of the old school coaches, they weren't using that damn placard. Like that placard didn't make sense for them. Nope, we're going for the 1 or whatever. We're going for the 2. That's what we need to win the game. But then you also have, like, nowadays, guys are going for 2, whether they down 8 or whether they up 8. They'll still go for 2. Just like you'll see guys going for fourth down. Like, sometimes you just know. Like, in my mind, I'm like, it's 3rd and 10. Don't let these dudes get 6 yards, because they're gonna go for it.
So they won't go for it.
Yeah, like, you gotta. The game has changed and become a situational game. So again, to talk about, I don't understand how you follow analytics, but also don't understand situational football. Situational football is right there. It should go hand in hand with the analytics. To me, it should, but I don't know that it does.
He's gone.
At least, he took.
Yeah, he's gone.
See,
game changed that fast. They're up 10-0, and we're talking about the Chicago Packers game right now. Yeah, the Bears is up 10-0.
Now they're down 13.
Green Bay came down and scored and threw a pick 6, and now it's 14-10. Green Bay, just that fast.
And let me say something else, because that just reminds me of that pick that Baker threw. Baker actually kind of threw almost 2 picks, but you can't, the almost don't count because it didn't happen. But the pick that he threw, it did look like they were confused about which route you were supposed to run.
Yeah, it was a miscommunication.
So I thought Baker thought my guy was going to go up. He thought Jarvis was going up. Jarvis saw more space and more opportunity towards the outside. I think I'm pointing this out for a reason, because we talked about where other miscommunications have happened, and everybody always, and this is why I brought up the Kurt Warner thing too. We talk about the miscommunication. Listen, we're in practice and we talk all the time. That shouldn't be a miscommunication in week 12, 13. It shouldn't be. That shouldn't. Y'all been on the same team with each other for 3 years. Why you don't know where that dude getting ready to go? And vice versa. Why don't you know where your quarterback think you're supposed to be? Now, honestly speaking, when I looked at that, because they showed it like 2 or 3 times, I thought Jarvis was right. I thought. That don't mean that Jarvis was right. I just thought he was right to pick, because he had to do a beat. And once he jumped the top route, he went inside, which is why the dude was already in the spot, because he kind of jumped the top route.
Right.
So Jarvis cut. Like, yeah, I beat him. I got him here, and now I could probably get another 5 to 10 yards behind him because he jumped all the way over there. And I think Baker just saw the first part of that and threw it. All of those things, going back to the coaching comment we were making a little bit ago, we got to clean all that stuff up. Because what you just said made that stand out to me. That one pick that just happened in this game we're watching went from 10-7 to 14-7. 14-10. It could change just like that. You got to be able to get on the same page as your guys. And Baker got too much bravado and too much. He talks like he the guy. Well, then if you the guy, you got to make that happen. Like, you got to figure those things out. And we got to have everybody on the same page. We got 4 games left. We trying to make the playoffs. But I ain't trying to go to the playoffs to get embarrassed. I'm trying to go to the playoffs and be in the playoffs and get past the wild card round, get past the divisional round, get past or get into the conference rounds and get past that too. Or at least compete in them. I don't want to get into the playoffs just to say we went to the playoffs so that we can go on the road and lose.
Exactly.
So again, that's me and my macro perspective. I know people don't always like that, but that's my big ego or my big thoughts to me are I don't know any other way to think, because I've seen my team be great and not get where I thought they should have gotten, and I don't want to continue to see that no more. And I think we got to ask the team. I think this team is more talented than the teams that went to the championship rounds year after year after year, to be honest. Talent.
Yeah, most talent-wise, most definitely. I would agree with that 100%. That team was just different. They were a team. You had one of the smartest quarterbacks in the NFL. So, all right, man, let's go ahead and give our game balls. If you want to do that,
I'll let you go.
I'll let you go first. Will we go first?
Yeah, go ahead.
My first game ball is going to go to Denzel Ward. I think he had another great game defensively. Matter of fact, I'm gonna give a game ball to the whole doggone defense. Period. Yeah, the whole because they've really been stepping up, man. Like, I love the aggressiveness. I love them. Getting pressure on a quarterback. They're starting to move as a unit. They had a few hiccups in the second half, but I blame that more so on the coaching than them. And we discussed that earlier about not timeouts for them to get collected. But as much grief as I've given Joe Woods in the past, I'm gonna be fair, and I'm gonna give him praise when it's needed. Love the way he's calling the defenses. I mean, because Lamar Jackson used to give us fits, even though he got hurt this game. But Hundley is a Lamar Jackson type quarterback. Normally mobile quarterbacks give us all types of fits, and they've for 2 games against those guys, man, they've done a very good job in containing that. So that's the game ball I'm giving today. The only one I'm giving to the entire Cleveland Browns defense. Nobody on offense necessarily deserves one at all. So that's where I am right now. They don't. Nobody on offense. They don't deserve
it. You just gonna say nobody?
I mean, People Jones had a good game. DPJ had a good game.
That's funny. He did. DPJ played well. I agree. Unfortunately, I'm laughing because I probably wasn't going to say it that way, but I thoroughly agree with Sean. I think if I was going to give, I'm only giving 2 game balls. One of them is to Joe Woods, and the second one is to the defense. I think the defense. You know what? Giving it to the defense, I'm giving out 3. One is to Joe Woods. One is to the defense. They played solidly. They played great. Solidly to great all game. They had a lull in the second half that I wasn't 100% happy with. That they kind of went off pace or whatever. But again, we talked about that. And then they picked it up. And when they picked it up, it went right back to what we were expecting or what they were capable of from the first half. So shout out to Joe. Shout out to the rest of the defense. And my third one has got to go to Myles Garrett. I kept saying all season that as many sacks as this dude has.
You did say that. He hadn't had a strip sack yet.
I ain't seen him do the strip. He ain't opened the strip club, man.
Right.
I'm looking for the strip club. Where the strip club at, Miles? Because last year, this dude was strip club champion. He had a strip club on every block.
Right.
Now,
right.
This season, he's just been basically all tackles for losses and just regular sacks. So today, that's why I had to go back and had to rechange this. Today, the script club opened up. My man opened up the script club. Not only did he open up the script club, he opened up the fumble recovery club, and he opened up the touchdown club, his first career touchdown. And he also, with that sack, passed Reggie Camp for the most sacks in a season on the Browns for the Browns player. So I had to give him his own individual game ball for that. And we all forget about Reggie Camp. Reggie was good. He wasn't great like this kid. He was good.
Right.
Reggie was good, but he wasn't like this guy.
No, not at all.
This guy should get
matter of fact, the 13 sacks or 14 sacks Reggie Camp got that season was probably the only sacks he got as a member of the Cleveland Browns for his whole career. But shout out to Myles Garrett for breaking that record, man. That's a record that has stood for like over 30 years, which is crazy.
And we've had guys in here that we thought were gonna break that. Courtney, what's his name?
Brown, the Quiet Storm.
Yeah. We thought all these guys was gonna come in here. Barkevius.
Yes, Mingo.
We thought all these guys was gonna come in here, and hell, we can even go back a little bit further. I just saw this the other day. I forget what year it was, but I saw they were doing they were talking about another team, but they were in the late 80s, early 90s. And literally at the top of that draft board was a name that I never want to bring up ever again on this show. Mike Junkin.
Oh, man. One of the worst draft picks in the history of the Browns.
In the history of the world. The hell with just the Browns. That could have been one of the worst draft picks in the history.
The fact that you even thought about drafting a player from Duke, you knew that was bound to fail from the
They were talking about Mel Kiper. and they were. This was a board that Mel Kiper had put together. That's what it was. I was watching some YouTube stuff during the week, and I said Mel Kiper had Mike Junkin at the top of his board. Any credibility I ever gave Mel Kiper,
right?
It's gone. So yeah,
I don't think Mike Junkin lasted past one season.
I don't think he lasted past 4 games. He was awful.
Something like that. He was beyond awful.
Listen, bro.
Man, but
terrible.
But look, Browns, you control your own destiny. I don't have all the mathematics and figures and all the different playoff scenarios and all this, but just looking from the outside looking in, it's like if you win, you're in. That's an old school saying. You win, you're in. Handle business 1 week at a time. We got the Vegas Raiders coming in. The Raiders are actually in a free fall right now. I mean, they got their ass beat. They had the nerve, before the game to dance on the Chiefs logo and proceeded to be down 35-0 by early second quarter. They was down 35-0.
You know what? They did worse than try to dance. And I said this was worse. These fools tried to have a team meeting on the logo.
Right.
I said, man, are y'all kidding me? They all trying to meet up and talk about how we about to get out here on the Arrowhead, in Arrowhead, at the 50-yard line, on the Arrowhead, in Arrowhead.
Right, in one of the most hostile stadiums in the NFL. So that's what I'm saying, man. They are ripe for the picking. Next week, Browns, and it's a trap game. You're right. Absolutely right.
When you kept saying, man, they stink. I'm like, no, they could be better than we think. This is a classic trap game at this point now.
It is a trap game
at this point now.
It's a trap game. Now, the Raiders always seem to give us trouble for whatever reason. Remember how early in the season, like I was always harping on teams that we were historically bad against. We need to start beating. Here's another one.
Yep.
Team we historically, I can't remember. Like in my lifetime, I can remember the Browns beating the Raiders maybe like 2 times, maybe like twice. 2 or 3.
Especially when we had to go out to the Coliseum. Oh, we was losing.
Yeah.
If we had to go out west to play them cats, we were losing. And I don't know why. It was a couple of years where I understood why. They had Bo Jackson, they had Marcus Allen. I get it. Ain't no way ain't many teams beating them like that. And we weren't that athletic at that time. We had we were going through some few changes or whatever, but
and we haven't really played the Raiders that much throughout history. Man, there's a website. There's a website that you can go to if you Google it, like say Browns, what's the Browns all-time record against XYZ team? And it'll bring you to a website where you can go down and listen, look at how the Browns have fared all time against, each team in the NFL. And against the Raiders, we haven't played the Raiders that much overall. You would think, with them being like an old school franchise as well as us, that we've had more run-ins, but we haven't. But they've gotten the best of us for the most part. So look, Browns, this is a chance for you to all the craziness that are going on this season. We can put all that to the background. We can reset. We can always, like they said, it's always Monday. It's always tomorrow. We can turn this thing around. Today was a first step towards that. A lot of people didn't think that you had a shot at winning this game today. I tell when I was downtown earlier, I was doing like some Uber and Lyft. People were real subdued, going to the game. Because people didn't think, that they could like me. Yeah, right, exactly. Know what to expect. So now you got a little bit of momentum. Saturday afternoon football. You're on national television.
425.
Yeah, it's a conference game, so let's step it up.
We don't have, and this is what I was trying to tell a couple of guys a little bit ago. They're like, "Oh man, the Browns made a huge jump." I said, "Yeah, well, one damn loss against a conference foe." And we got 3 games out of the 4 against conference guys. So we cannot lose to the conference guys. Like Sean said a little bit ago, if we do lose, let's try to make it to the Packers. Let's not let it be to these other guys, to the Steelers, to the Bengals, and to the Raiders.
Right. We were talking about this earlier, man. That playoff board changed dramatically today. Like Cincinnati was riding high, and they lost in overtime. They blew a game today,
Now
and they're all the way off the.
Are they in seventh place, right? Or are they behind us? I think they're behind us.
No, they're behind us. They fell off the board.
Yeah. I mean,
they
and
fell
we
off
were
the
11,
board.
which we weren't even on the board because they stopped it. So this morning, we weren't even on the board. Now we went from 11 to 7. I mean, to 8. So we jumped
like that.
spots.
Yeah.
And it's possible, everybody. I know we were neither one of us, we're not going to even act like, towards the middle of this season that either one of us thought we were making the playoffs. I think I wrote us off. One of those losses we had, I was like, that's it, we're done. I can't it was, but I was like, that's it, man, we suck. And
right.
Ain't no playoffs happening, yada, yada, yada. It might have been after the Patriots game. It might have been just because of how it happened, losing 45-7, but we're still in the hunt, and let's see what happens, man. Again, one thing about us, we're gonna be fair, and we're gonna be open. We're gonna have a discussion. We ain't finna have this. Like, this was really what I wanted in my show. I didn't want to have no pom pom cheering session about the Browns. I wanted to be fair, but I also wanted to be able to feel like, as a fan, I got to show that if I was sitting at home, I can listen to it and be like, yep, yep, yep. And I know it's two people that can bring that to everybody who's listening. And that's myself. That's my partner over there, Big Sean. So shout out to the Browns. Shout out to the Browns defense. Offense, y'all need to figure it out. I think Sean and I have already dissected what the problem is. We just need Kevin Stefanski to fire the play caller. That's all. If he fires the play caller, everything else I think will settle itself. Because he's even screwing up for Nick Chubb. Chubb will never be a number one running back in the league, as he should. Not with this offense. He's just gonna always be right there in the top, but he ain't gonna never be number one. We need somebody who understands that you got superstars. That's what I kept saying about Joe Woods. Got to understand you got superstars. Use them. Use these guys. You got talented guys.
Exactly.
So use your talent. So next week against the Raiders, I got a lot of fans. A lot of friends that are Raiders fans, and a lot of guys that I know in Vegas they already hit me up earlier today.
Yeah, I'll give the Raiders fans credit, because Raider fans, they'll follow their team no matter what city they move to.
They better than us.
Yeah, they still with it. Yeah, they're way better than us.
They're better than us. They're better than the Baltimore fans, because when the Colts went to Indy, they didn't follow them. You know what I mean? Like, but that's reason. At least they kind of move within the same region. Like, but I don't know that I would follow the Browns if they moved to Columbus. I might be mad.
No, I wouldn't. Yeah,
you know
exactly.
I mean?
I would. There's the Columbus Browns. I wouldn't follow.
The Columbus.
Not at all.
Well, you go right ahead, Columbus Browns, because I ain't for you. But yeah, it's all good. You wanna have a small discussion about the Cavs, real quick?
Sure. Shout out to JB Biggerstaff and the Cleveland Cavaliers, man. They're making me eat my words, because I said at the end of the season, to be honest, I said that the Cavs have a good coaching staff. They're going to play hard. Yeah, they ran back another, what was that, a kickoff return, punt return. I think that's 2 they just ran back. Yeah, that's crazy. The floor is sick over there. But I said, in regards to the Cavs, that they're going to play hard. JB is a good coach, but the roster just looks flawed. Because the thing that the reason why I said that is because the Cavs had a lot of bigs. You had 3 7-footers when they're starting lineup.
Right.
And I was like, the NBA isn't played that way. Like, they don't run through their bigs anymore. And what JB has been brilliant in doing is playing through his bigs, and not in the traditional way necessarily, having guys post up, but he's finding other ways to get these guys touches and in great scoring opportunities, man. Like, the Cavs are fun to watch. They got heart. They play hard every single night. And I've been highly impressed. And we still can't really compete with the Golden States and the Phoenixes, not on a regular, not on a consistent basis. But as far as, like, the other middle teams, as far as the Orlandos, the Washingtons, Indiana, those type of teams.
So we beat them.
I mean, the Cavs are.
We beat them.
We're starting to blow those teams out.
Them 2 out of 3.
Yeah, exactly. So, barring any significant injuries going forward, I think this team's gonna make the playoffs, which they need. They need that experience. And like I said, it's just been a pleasure to watch, man. They're playing team basketball, So
sure. And I mean, and this kind of you brought this up before about this team. I mean, because of the coach. The coach is a very tough kind of coach. So you said off rip that they was going to play hard, but we both, when we did our kind of synopsis of what we thought the Cavs were going to do, we both said that they might compete for. We said that last year. We said that this year, that they might compete for the 8th spot. The one thing that I think we were all confused at, and I damn sure know I was having 4 to potentially 5 7-footers on a team. Like, I didn't understand the purpose and the point simply because the game wasn't played played that way.
Right.
The game isn't played with that many big guys unless all of these big guys are shooting 3-pointers or something like that, where you create that disadvantage. We got 2 of the 3 of these guys, 2 of the 4 of these guys that play underneath the rim almost exclusively, and Jared Allen and Evan Mobley. But Mobley also has, a decent 15-foot shot.
Yeah,
he's not,
right.
He's not like fluent from the 3-point line, but he spaces the floor enough to allow, Darius Garland, and when Sexton was healthy, to get to the rack, or Coro to get to the rack. But they're a tough playing team, and they create a lot of opportunities for themselves because they play good defense. So again,
I just about to bring that up, man. Defensively, they've been playing excellent. With
that's where
rim
protection. Though, bro. I think the turn starts with the defense, because you got guys, you got the 7-footers, so you don't get those easy looks. You got 2
exactly, and you can see the team getting confidence with every game too. You even got a Coro just shooting threes, pulling up with no conscience. You can tell he's feeling more confident in his shot. Garland has made leaps and bounds this year. Ricky Rubio was been a big surprise when we picked him up. I was like, why are we picking him up?
I thought the same thing, but I knew why they were picking him up. I didn't expect them to pick him up out of, he can get us 10 to 12 points a game. I thought they were picking him up as a small point guard to give the guys that we have on the team some professionalism and because Rubio's a hard-working guy. So I thought that was a professional pickup. You know how when we talk about the Indians, I always talk about a professional bat. I think this is the equivalent of that. You're picking up a guy that's been around the league and that gets it from top to bottom. I ain't got to talk to him. He's gonna be the first guy in, last guy out. He's gonna go to the training table. He's gonna go to the meetings. You know what I mean? Like, I don't have to talk.
I agree.
You gotta have those types of guys in the building, especially when you have a young backcourt. Garland and Sexton. And now with Sexton being hurt, my hope is that through him being hurt, that when he comes back, that he'll see that I don't have to be the guy that just takes the ball over and has to be the guy. I need to come here and understand these guys can play too, because this team can play. And right now, the contract situation that he's in, Sexton, hell, you could be expendable, homie, because this team is working.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like the Cavs are in a rare good spot without having LeBron and Kyrie and all these guys on the team. The Cavs
and speaking of LeBron, that would be, if the Cavs can make the playoffs this season, that would be huge for the franchise. No matter what happens in the playoffs, no matter what happens next year, the year after that, it's like, okay, now you started the true rebuild process, and you can see some type of progress where you guys. They said that the Cavs haven't been in the playoffs without LeBron since 1998.
Yeah, they haven't.
That's insane. Think about it.
That was with I remember because I was at that first game.
It was Sean Kemp.
I had just gotten out the service. Yeah, Sean Kemp. We had Brevin Knight. Woo!
Yeah, that's crazy.
We had Brevin Knight, who was awful.
He sure was. You had Cedric Henderson.
Brevin was
Derek Anderson and you had Ilgauskas.
Oh, we had, you know what? We had Ilgauskas, and we had what's the other kid?
Potapinko.
Vitaly Potapinko. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we had 7-footers back then too. Only one of them was decent though.
Right.
Potapinko was lazy, man.
He ended up being a coach. I think he's still a coach.
Oh, really? I know he left.
He's like an assistant coach in the league. Yeah.
I knew he had left. I think he went to Boston or something, or Atlanta.
Yeah, but he's an assistant coach somewhere, or at least he was.
I mean, sure, he was a solid. He was actually a solid big. He just was lazy. I think he could have been better. I think he could have been way better. Like Z wasn't lazy. If Z was healthy, Z would have had a much better career.
Right.
Still
had a good
outside shot. I think him getting hurt helped him develop that outside shot like that. Like that was key to him having longevity, being 7'1". So shout out to Z. Z, my guy, man. I love Z. And that's saying a lot because I always say we love mediocre guys. He's probably the most mediocre player, so to speak, that I actually love Z. Z is my guy.
Man. He gave us all every night and fought through a lot of issues.
Listen, I don't care how mediocre he was. He gave us every bit of his mediocrity every single night. Like he didn't go out there like, yo, I'm gonna give y'all 35, but I could go out here and get 35. Z was that guy, and I love that about him. He was Cleveland all day, and then he left and came back and still was about Cleveland.
Yeah,
exactly. As you see, what shirt I got on, Cleveland. When you go, what hat I got on, Cleveland. When you leave and you say, I ain't even from here, but I got to be in Cleveland because I understand, the atmosphere. I understand the environment here in Cleveland. I love it. As a Cleveland fan and as a Clevelander, I always love it. So shout out to Z, shout out to JB and that squad, man. These guys are balling. They're on a 3-game win streak. Keep it going, fellas. Let's see what happens. I think the sky's the limit if they get Sexton back, personally, at least this season.
I think he's been ruled out for the season.
Did he get ruled out for the season?
Yeah, he got ruled out.
I didn't know.
Yeah, they said that yesterday that he was ruled out officially.
Okay. I didn't know if if he decided to get the surgery. I knew they said he could play without it, but that makes sense. Go ahead and get the surgery, get yourself all the way back.
Get better. And no use to push, especially you trying to get that contract too. You don't want to force it and press it.
Yeah, get yourself all the way right, and then come back because he'll still be here next year, I'm sure. And then go from there. And I think the sky's the limit once he does get back, though. I still hope that he could come back there. I didn't hear that he had gotten All right.
Right.
I hear that.
I agree with you 100% in regards to him. So, all right, man. Well, let's go ahead and wrap things up for this week's edition, unless you have anything further that you want to contribute.
I got nothing.
All right. So you can follow us on Facebook at 2guys in the mic 216. That's also our handle on YouTube and Instagram. Follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Anchor. What am I missing?
That's it.
I don't think I'm missing anything. That's it. So we had 2 guys in the mic.
Oh, did you say iTunes?
Yeah. I said, I said Apple Podcast. So iTunes too. So on the podcast side, we are 2 guys in the mic. So look for the little basketball logo. If you look for it, because there's several other 2 guys in the mic. I don't think they're active at all, but still. But if you're looking for us, look for the basketball logo.
2 guys in the mic 216. So, however, shout out to all those folks. We just got our analytic numbers back. So shout out to all y'all who are listening between the 1 and the 5 o'clock hour, AM that is. So a lot of you third shifters are some of our biggest fans. That's
right.
Awesome.
Or either that you're listening while you're going to sleep, which is fine as long as you're listening.
Yeah, whichever way.
Whatever.
Whichever way, we appreciate you guys. We thank you guys for even hitting the play button, for even scrolling through whatever medium you're on, looking for 2 guys in the mic. We greatly appreciate it. We just want to just continue to build and keep putting out great content.
Exactly.
So again,
so we'll catch you guys. Love you too. We'll catch you guys next time, and go Browns, go Cavs, go Guardians, go Buckeyes. Peace out.
Peace.